Shipment of infectious material to the Pirbright Institute. Introduction.
The Pirbright Institute is a global centre of excellence for research and surveillance of virus diseases of livestock and viruses that can spread from animals to humans. We not only work on economically important diseases such as foot and mouth disease, African swine fever and blue tongue, but also on new and emerging virus threats. Our unique facility has a critical role in the research, diagnosis and control of virus diseases on a global scale, and we receive shipments of infectious material from around the world for confirmation of disease outbreaks and epidemiological purposes. As many of the diseases that we work with are exotic to the UK, it is vital that they are shipped to the Institute in a safe and secure manner so as to protect the environment, susceptible animals and people from any risk of accidental exposure. It also ensures the quality of your samples is protected. We realise that the shipment of infectious material can be a complex and costly process, and this short film describes how to ensure that we receive shipments at the Institute in a safe and timely manner.
Infectious shipments by air and road. Overview. The shipment of infectious goods by air and road is strictly regulated at a national and international level, and this film will guide you on how to send shipments within that legal framework. However, this film is our guidance on sample shipment to the Pirbright Institute and is not a replacement for the formal training delivered by competent bodies that is required for transportation of infectious goods. There are 4 key steps when preparing to send a shipment. 1. Classification. 2. Packaging. 3. Labelling and documentation. 4. Transportation and notification. 1. Classification. At the outset, it is vital that you correctly classify the material that you are sending to us. Infectious materials are defined as anything that is known to contain or reasonably expected to contain pathogens and will be classed as dangerous goods in Class 6.2. Within this class for infectious substances, there are 2 categories, Category A and B. Category A material is defined as a substance that is capable of causing permanent disability, life-threatening or fatal disease to otherwise healthy humans or animals. These substances are given specific UN numbers and proper shipping names, depending on whether they're infectious to humans or animals. Category A substances that affect animals are UN 2900. Category A substances that affect humans are UN 2814. The regulations give an indicative list of Category A infectious substances. However, this list is not exhaustive and assignment is open to professional judgment. For example, the list mentions foot and mouth disease virus, African swine fever virus, sheep and goat pox virus cultures. In such cases, even if they aren't cultures, if samples are suspected of carrying these pathogens, they should be assigned to UN 2900 or UN 2814. This is because these diseases are exotic to the UK and any accidental release would be devastating to our livestock. The list does not cover new or emerging viruses, so if you're unsure about classification, please contact us to check how it should be shipped. Category B substances are defined as any infectious material that does not meet the criteria for inclusion in Category A. These would include infectious material such as blue tongue or Schmallenberg virus. Exempt specimens. Some samples are exempt from the regulations. Examples include any biological material where validated chemical or heat inactivation has been carried out, or if there is minimal likelihood of infectious material being present. Such animal specimens should be marked Exempt Animal Specimen. Also remember that although they may be exempt from classification as infectious material, they may be required to be classified under another class of goods. For example, GMO or toxic substances. 2. Packaging. The type of packaging required is always dependent on the initial classification. All Category A infectious material must be packaged using a triple-layer system. This will ensure that the sample arrives in good condition and will not pose any threat to humans or animals. 1. The first layer of packaging is the primary container itself. This must be leak-proof and robust. There are strict limits to the volume that can be sent in this category, and these are defined in the regulations. 2. The second layer of packaging must also be leak-proof, and there must be sufficient absorbent material such as vermiculite or paper toweling between the first and second layer of packaging to ensure that if there is a spillage, it can all easily be absorbed. 3. The third layer must be a rigid outer package and must conform to UN standards for this category. A list of contents must be placed in a waterproof pouch between the second and third layer of packaging. There are many different types of secondary and tertiary containers available from commercial sources. This outer pack is what will protect the inner container from physical damage in transit. The principles for packaging Category B infectious material are very similar to Category A, as they must also be packaged in triple layers of protection with 1. A leak-proof primary container, 2. A leak-proof secondary container containing sufficient absorbent material. A list of contents must also be enclosed. The volume that can be packaged for such samples is greater than Category A, and these details are in the regulations. If the samples in Category A or B are packaged using dry ice, this must be placed outside the secondary packaging or in the outer packaging in an overpack to allow safe release of gas. Likewise, if wet ice is used, it should be placed between the secondary and outer layer, and this outer layer must be leak-proof. Non-infectious or exempt biological specimens are not subject to these regulations, but again, the principle of 3 layers of packaging must be applied. The first and second layers must be leak-proof. Although the outer layer does not have to conform to UN requirements, it must be suitable for use. 3. Labelling and documentation. Category A. Category A goods must be packaged in UN-specified outer packs. The regulations clearly state the information that should be contained on the box and the documents that must accompany it. Labelling. There must be the correct UN marking on the box. The hazard label must be present. For example, Class 6.2. The proper shipping name must be clearly marked on the outer packaging. For example, UN 2900 infectious substances affecting animals. And the quantity. Other dangerous goods within the shipment must be identified. For example, UN 1845 dry ice 5 kilograms. If the samples are coming in from outside the UK, the import license number for the institute should be clearly displayed. We will give you this information upon request. The shipper and consignee details must be displayed. For example, name, address and telephone number. Emergency contact details must be available. For example, the name and telephone number for a responsible person for the shipment. Orientation arrows are only required if the volume of the shipment exceeds 50 millilitres. Overpacks must be clearly marked. Documentation. Please remember to include the following documents. Shipper's declaration, which must be signed by a trained person. The import license for the Institute. The airway bill. There must be at least 2 copies of these documents. One will be enclosed in a waterproof pouch between the secondary container and the outer pack, and the other set will accompany the shipment. Labelling and documentation. Category B. The regulations for Category B goods also clearly state that specific instructions should be on the shipment. These are the primary hazard label, for example, UN number UN 3373. The proper shipping name, for example, biological substance Category B. Other hazard labels and the amount. For example, dry ice UN 1845 10 kilograms. Shipper and consignee details, your name and address. Overpack labels, if required, marked as overpack. If the samples are coming from outside the UK, the import license number must be displayed. If sent by air freight, then the preferred freight handler should be detailed on the airway bill. Also to be included are a copy of the Institute's import license, a list of sample contents and details, the airway bill. There must be at least 2 copies of these documents. One will be in a waterproof pouch between the secondary container and the outer pack, and the other set will accompany the shipment. A shipper's declaration for Category B goods is not required. Exempt specimens. For exempt non-infectious samples, the use of 3 layers of robust leak-proof packaging will ensure that samples arrive in a safe condition. In this case, the package should clearly identify the shipper, the consignee, and be marked exempt animal specimens. 4. Transportation and notification. We must be notified of incoming infectious shipments before you send them to us. We can also provide you with the required import license and advice. When infectious shipments are being sent to us, please ensure that they are shipped with a courier company that is licensed to transport this category of material. Failure to do this may result in delay or return of the shipment. Exempt samples can be sent through most standard mail services. Please label them properly so that they can be screened and forwarded through our reception team to the right lab. Troubleshooting. Not all shipments to the Pirbright Institute are packaged correctly, and this can result in a delay in diagnosis, reduced quality of the samples, and sometimes the whole shipment has to be destroyed. There is also the very real threat of exposure to susceptible animals or humans. Please help us to protect susceptible species, the environment, and to process your important shipments in a safe, secure manner.